Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a massive 12-hour language masterclass and boiling it down into the ultimate streamlined toolkit to help you completely conquer your workplace communication anxiety. Because whether you're trying to impress in a high-stakes corporate boardroom, diffuse a really tense retail situation, or literally save a life in an emergency room, the words you choose absolutely matter. We are going to break down the exact phrasing that professional communicators use to project instant confidence and authority.
Okay, so here is our roadmap for today. We'll be covering upgrading everyday business English, nailing the job interview, diffusing customer service conflicts, leading and negotiating, and finally, high-stakes emergency communication. Let's get into it.
Starting off with Section 1, upgrading everyday business English. You know, it's actually crazy how a simple phrasing shift can completely transform your professional image. Think about it. Saying, "I don't know," just comes across as dismissive or kind of unhelpful, right? But listen to this professional alternative. "I'm not certain at the moment, but I'll find out." By saying that, you're acknowledging the knowledge gap, sure, but you immediately pivot to being this proactive problem solver. It is a total game changer.
Okay, picture this. A colleague dumps a massive task on your desk at the very end of the day. We've all been there. A blunt, "that's not my job," just shuts down collaboration and breeds resentment. But if you upgrade that to, "I'll see if I can assist or find the appropriate person," you are essentially armor-plating your boundaries. You're showing a great collaborative spirit without actually taking on work that isn't yours.
And that brings us to an absolutely crucial point. Professional English is not about using giant, complicated vocabulary words. It's really just about keeping the dialogue open. A flat, "we can't do that," kills all your momentum. Softening the blow with, "that may not be feasible," and then pivoting to an alternative approach, that is a masterful way to say no while still sounding entirely cooperative to your team.
All right, moving right along to Section 2, nailing the job interview.
If your nerves tend to get the better of you when you're speaking under pressure, the STAR method is literally your ultimate cheat code for those tricky behavioral questions. Employers love asking, "Tell me about a time when," because they're trying to predict your future behavior. Situation, task, action, result. Sticking to this foolproof structure ensures you will never lose your train of thought in the hot seat. By breaking down your experience into these specific steps, you build an incredibly convincing narrative. For instance, if they ask you about working under pressure, don't just say, "Oh, I work hard." Instead, outline the situation and task, like, say, a massive marketing campaign on a short deadline. Detail your action, like organizing daily check-ins. And finally, hit them with the result, a 20% engagement increase. It's concise, it's specific, and it's exactly what hiring managers are desperately wanting to hear.
So that's all great for the good times, right? It's pretty easy to communicate effectively when you're just talking about your wins and successes. But how do you react when the tension suddenly spikes?
Which brings us to Section 3, diffusing customer service conflicts. Communicating effectively while under fire from an angry customer is incredibly tough, but relying on 3 core steps gives you a safe, predictable structure to fall back on. First, you apologize sincerely. Second, you validate their frustration so they actually feel heard. And third, you immediately pivot to providing a concrete solution.
You might actually want to take a screenshot right here and burn this exact phrase into your memory. It is a psychological master key to immediately de-escalate tension. Notice exactly what it does. "I understand your frustration" validates the client's emotions. It tells them, "Hey, you aren't crazy for being upset." And adding "I'm here to help" instantly positions you as their ally. It is simple, polite, and just incredibly effective.
All right, Section 4, leading and negotiating.
If you are absolutely terrified of asking for a raise, you really need to reframe your request. Saying, "I need a raise" is way too blunt, and honestly, it only focuses on your needs. Instead, try saying, "I'd like to discuss my compensation based on my performance and contributions." See what that does? This frames the entire discussion around your merit and value. It's confident, it's highly logical, and it's completely respectful.
But hey, what if the answer is just no? You can handle that objection professionally by acknowledging their constraint. Saying you understand that budgets are tight shows that you grasp the business reality. Then you simply ask to revisit the discussion in the near future. You aren't storming out of the office. You are smartly planting the seed for your next performance review.
We've covered the boardroom, the retail storefront, and the manager's office. But what actually happens to our language when the stakes are at their absolute highest?
Let's look at Section 5, high-stakes emergency communication.
In an emergency room, there is literally zero time for confusion or vague language.
Nurses rely on precise, rapid-fire fundamentals to triage patients accurately. Asking for pain on a scale of 1 to 10 quantifies something that's otherwise totally subjective. Checking for allergies avoids fatal drug interactions. The language here is stripped of all fluff. It is purely functional, designed entirely for speed and safety.
When a massive emergency like a code blue is called, every single syllable matters. Medical teams use highly specific, standardized phrases, things like administer epinephrine 1 milligram or begin CPR immediately to initiate a rescue. By using a strict, standardized vocabulary, the entire medical team is able to act as a single, coordinated unit without any misunderstandings whatsoever.
And whether you're in a trauma ward or literally 30,000 feet in the air, a calm, authoritative tone is vital. If a passenger falls ill on a flight, simply asking, "Is there a doctor or medical professional on board?" prevents wide-scale panic. It's clear, it's direct, and it's designed to gather the necessary resources immediately without causing any unnecessary alarm.
So, armed with this linguistic armor, whether you are asking for a well-deserved promotion, diffusing a really tough customer, or quite literally saving a life, remember that the right phrases are your absolute greatest toolkit. Mastering these structures gives you a massive advantage. Practice these phrases and ask yourself, what crucial workplace conversation will you conquer next? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.